Yes, indeed. 372 pages is back, baby. Connor, how are you?
I'm good, Mike. The Stygian winter of Vermont has not yet raised its lithe and slender form across our gunmetal skyline. So,
your fetish eyes are your orbs. Your fetish orbs are observing the.
Yeah, my oval has not yet turned westward. Oh man, it's good. It's good.
This is so. Why don't you explain what we're doing? Because we're excited. We're leaping in before we've even told people what this is.
Right. This is 372 pages we'll never get back, and we're reading terrible books or books we think are going to be terrible. We're not. We're going in blind. And this one is The Eye of Argon by Jim Theis, a 16-year-old boy who wrote this in the 70s and submitted it to the Ozark Sci-Fi Association Journal. Where they published it, and then he was proceeded to be mocked mercilessly at weird sci-fi conventions all around the country for this, 15,000 word novella he had written as a 16-year-old.
Yep, and we're jumping in, these many years later, long after this ship has sailed. But we're doing it proudly. We this podcast, we have taken on the works of Ernest Cline before. And this is the rebirth. This is what do we call it? Season 3, or what do we call it?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, since it's so short, Jim Theis would probably call it season 2.5. Yes. We'll get to that later. But I think season 3 is a good way to do it. I mean, who knows? This could be. There's really only half the book left, but who knows how much longer we could dive into this. People seem excited by it. There's been a few people who have even heard of it before, like read it, on the Usenet back in the 90s. So. I think it was a good choice.
I think so too. And before we dive in, I'm very excited about it. By the way, this is far more fun for me than the Ready Player One was.
All right.
But first of all, who are we? You're Connor.
I'm Connor Listoka, and that's me.
And I am Michael J. Nelson. Connor and I work together over at rifftracks.com. Got to get our plug in for that, Connor. We'd be remiss.
Yeah, we heard from some guy this week that was like, "Yeah, I just started listening to this podcast, and after 18 hours of it or so, I decided to check out this Riff Tracks thing you guys were talking about." It's like, oh, that's an outlier. That's.
Yeah. I love the construction of that. All right, yeah. I mean, let's dive in. Let's wait no longer. Oh,
yeah. All right.
Wait. I should tease our departments, Connor. We always got to tease our departments. We have Real or Fanfic is coming up. I'm so excited. Yes. It's the return of it.
Yeah, it's back. There's some good ones. Fans wrote it in, but there was also Eye of Argon fanfic that already existed.
Yeah.
There was not much of it, but the one that existed is it's a doozy. It's gonna be really good.
Well, I expect the same success rate as we had in Ready Player One, which is coin flip success rate.
Right. It's got it's an imitable style, so people had fun with it, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's our one department, right?
Well, if only. No. Once again, I've gone to my sources. As you know, I'm in showbiz, as you know. And there is a fully produced audiobook of The Eye of Argon.
Whoa.
And someone leaked some scenes from it for me because I was wondering how does this play out? And we'll get into this in a second. It's very difficult sometimes to get your mind's eye around what's happening in this. The prose is a little dense.
Yeah.
a little thick, a little exhausting. So I wanted to see how they handle it. So I went to my sources in Hollywood. So that's coming up.
So they produced the audiobook, but then it just sort of sat on the shelf like I
guess how
it's like Chinese Democracy by Guns N' Roses or
like The Princess Bride was sitting around for a long time. That script was 15 years old before it was produced, and so I guess Eye of Argon is the same deal. So maybe we'll revive interest in it and they'll release that.
Devoted toward it, that might get some momentum rolling for it. Good for them.
Yeah. All right, let's dive in with general impressions. Connor, go.
Yeah, I mean, well, you said it's better than I hoped it would be. Like we said, people recommend stuff to us, and you're never certain whether it's going to work. But I think this is delightful. I'm reading it on my Kindle, and then sort of double checking it with the e-text version because that makes for easier copying and pasting. But then there's also that scan of the magazine, of the Ozark Sci-Fi Association Journal, which is the original form. So I find myself sort of comparing all three because it's really it's a nice window into Theis's madness to see the original Jack Torrancy kind of text, because the Kindle version, the e-text version is riddled with typos, but it's also, you can never tell what's a typo and what's a weird fantasy term or something he made up. And even place names that he made up are spelled wrong multiple times. But it's fun to see the typewritten thing because it's an actual typewriter. And on some of these things, he's gone back and corrected them. And other ones he just completely either didn't realize he made a mistake or ignored. But the Ozark Journal printed him typos and all. So it's a very unique experience to sort of it's like a Rosetta Stone almost. You're comparing these texts.
You're doing real Dan Brown level stuff here of just going back to the textual criticism and did he mean this? And then you got to go visit the secret library under the castle and
right. Yeah, you've sort of got it a yarn wall with the hideous illustrations that are in the book as well. It's a sort of a window into the madness, and I keep finding myself trying to picture what this guy looked like because there's no, as far as I know, pictures. Like maybe someone will turn up his yearbook or something like that. But the one that I kept landing on, I sort of envisioned him as the Martin Starr character on Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah.
Like I was torn either way. There was like the trench coated, stringy haired. All black kind of kid. And parts of that make sense. But I feel like the geek with the Coke bottle glasses who's very quiet, but then goes home and sort of unleashes this bizarre side of his personality into the text was more in line with what that was all about. He might have some friends.
Wait a second. Never once did you assume that it was a nom de plume of a sort of attractive 18-year-old woman who was maybe a lifeguard right.
The Wendy Peppercorn, or like the captain of the football team, just sort of trotting this out as he was like, they're at halftime and they're like, come on, we're up by 1 in the state finals, and he's like, I'll be right there. I've just got to type out this description of the grotesque jade idol and the be-perfumed priests who are worshiping it.
The shaman, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Yeah, my impressions, it's a ton of fun. It's a little, as you say, it's a bit exhausting because of the many versions of the text you have to go to. And like you say, you can't believe like this word is not real. This typo is a typo of a typo. You start because it can't be. But then you go back to the source and like, I'll be damned, there it is. That's what he wrote. But it's also exhausting in terms of your mind's eye, because I'm used to, I think we all are. You're reading the book, you're giving it your best shot at reconstructing everything in your mind's eye. And that's what I found exhausting. Like, wait, what?
Right.
What am I supposed to be looking at? There's like dusty ground, but then there are grass and he's falling in like, where's this all happening? So that gets tough after a while because you give it your best faith effort in your own mind.
And you can sort of see where things are coming from just because it is all pretty cliche. Like it's pretty by the numbers. Like you're immediately the picture of Grignr you sort of calls to mind like a Fabio sort of guy. There's a Nintendo game called Wizards and Warriors 2 that is pretty much, I think, verbatim what this character looks like. But it's, Fabio wearing the thing, holding a sword, long hair type of thing. But this guy was also writing this in the early 70s. So like a lot of these cliches that we're sort of used to were certainly not widespread. They were in his weird little corner of the comic book store. So,
he invented
credit.
Them.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. He invented modern fantasy is the thing that is my takeaway. End it now. Jim Theis, father of modern fantasy.
That's right. Well, the thing I want to give him credit for, in contrast to Mr. Klein, is that never once does he say, look, just picture, so-and-so the barbarian, and that's who you're.
Right.
He doesn't do that. There are no references to anything else. He's whatever those references are buried with Mr. Theis. We don't know what he was reading that brought this out. But
that's true.
Yeah, you can kind of guess. I'm sure if someone did a real deep dive analysis, like where is he getting the word sword from?
Sure.
sward. And where is he getting the word suckered, which he uses? Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to the specifics.
But yeah, I mean, he was obviously reading something that got him into the word Stygian and wench and all that stuff. But my knowledge of all this stuff is non-existent. Like, I have no idea like what this could possibly be, like what fantasy other than Tolkien he could be reading, whether it's like, I don't know, those two guys named Terry that both write series. I don't know if those were around in the 70s. And I guess it might be just like, dime store pulp fantasy garbage type of stuff. But
yeah, it must be. I don't know. It's not, it doesn't seem to be like the older stuff, like Edgar Rice Burroughs or who's the other guy that the early fantasy stuff. I'll think of his name later.
Jules Verne?
No, although that's a good reference too. So who knows? So the his path to this is opaque to us. We don't, which we'll get to in a moment. We don't know where these references came from, but what should we do? Should we dive in?
Yeah, I think so. Let's get started. So it starts, and I wanted to sort of like, there's backstory, obviously. This is a very short book, but I wanted to figure out where we were at, like as it started. So I sort of took notes in the first chapter. And so correct me if any of this sounds wrong. We're in the Norgolian Empire.
Yes.
That's the greater, like that's the world, I guess. Or and then so Grignr, are we going to be okay with saying it that way?
Yeah, Grignr. Yeah, that's how it. I think it is spelled a couple different ways, but I believe Grignr, yes.
Okay. So he's an Ecordian.
Ecordian, yes.
Yeah. Who has been captured by Cimmerians.
Is it clear that he's captured at the beginning? Oh, yes, because it's part of the flashback.
I guess so. But he's heading Gorzum.
He's heading to Gorzum. The flashback implies that, yes, he was captured, but I didn't, from starting at the beginning, I wasn't clear. It was just like there's three shapes going through the desert.
Yeah, I was very unclear about that too, and I went back and read it because I thought there were three guys who captured him. I guess they could be going the opposite direction from him and encountering his one shape. But for us to be unclear about this is stunning because I took note. I mean, we're going to get into this, but there are 13 adjectives in the first paragraph, which is, I mean, it's amazing. He gets into a lot of adverbs later, but for the sheer amount of description that he lays on in the first paragraph, and then in every following sentence, to be unclear about anything is a tremendous accomplishment.
And this is a very, very brief chapter. This is scene setting, and the scene is, I cannot picture what's going on.
But yeah, it's sort of you imagine that he's progressing through the desert. He encounters these two people. A violent encounter ensues, during which he pierces their vital organs and entrails, spills their escaping life fluid, which is a delightful way to make the process of getting bowed somehow sound even more revolting.
Yes, but I'd like to just go back to the terrain if I could. Because in the first sentence, I'm thrown. What is dust racked? So the place is wrecked by dust? Racked means, in this case, what he's going for is, I think, W-A-R-C.
Okay.
He misspelled it.
In the first sentence.
But dust racked. And then age-worn hoof prints were smothered by the sifting sands of time, so they're smothered by the sands, yet they shone dully against the dust-splattered crust of earth. I'm really having a hard time picturing that. And then later, just a few sentences later, it's a sward.
Okay.
It's a grassy land. It's like,
oh.
So I think he was pulling the sward is the one that really threw me off.
So sward is a word? That's not a misspelling.
It's not a misspelling. Sward is a grassy surface. That's all it means. It just means the lawn.
So between dust racked and dust, what was it? The dust racked.
It was dust racked and just in the same sentence.
Dust splattered.
Dust splattered crust.
splattered implies that, like, I mean, dust is a very like dispersed. Like, you know, you don't throw dust against something and then have it sort of stay there and shoot outwards. The dust then, blows away in the wind.
Yes, but then the hoof prints shone dully.
That was the one that I noted. That was my favorite.
How is this
shining?
happening?
Oh wow, it's shining. To shine dully is like, it's negation immediate. It's fantastic.
Oh, there's one in, I think, chapter 3.5 that is the classic of that. But that's coming up.
I like, speaking of negating, he once he's disemboweled the guys. So he's murdered 2 men. I mean, he's a barbarian, so whatever. But his immediate reaction after killing these 2 people, the enthused barbarian scribbled about.
Oh boy! Yeah. Oh boy! I just disemboweled 2 guys. Look at their lifeblood.
You're 8 years old, and your mom just surprised you, being like, "Why don't we go to McDonald's for lunch?" It's like, oh wow, what an enthused reaction. But then he shakes his shock of fiery red hair, tossing robustly in the humid air currents. Yep. Which I thought was great, because, the humidity is really the condition that we associate with good hair, robust hair. Like, humidity is what really gets all of that going. Also in the desert, it's pretty humid. But I guess the humidity keeps those occasional swords that people land on. That's the only reason they exist. The guy who he disembowels, a gasping gurgle from the soldier's writhing mouth as he tumbled to the golden sand at his feet and wormed agonizingly in his deathbed. And I like to imagine that being like, the party guy who actually jumps down and does the dance move, the worm, in the middle of the dance floor, because that makes it, just to cast a fun little light on it.
Here's a puzzler for you. When he says stead repeatedly, he means steed? Right? Because later he refers to stead, and it's pretty clear it's a horse. But in the first paragraph, he says, the one guy, gives him the fighting insult. I don't have it written right here, but then he returns it with, "Only after you have kissed the fleeting stead of death, wretch," returned Grignr. So I'm assuming he means steed. It's just like a term, the fleeting steed of death.
It's gotta be, and we're gonna get told that, like, in ye old English, we're idiots for not knowing what stead meant.
I'm sure there's plenty of that coming.
But he also calls them mounts very frequently too, because he does sort of interchange those, but he uses mounts, like 5 times in the first page. Mounts, steeds. And maybe we're ignorant for thinking that they're horses. Maybe there's some sort of mythical beast that he's just assuming we know.
Oh, that could be. Yeah.
But so these typos are very tricky, because there are times when I'm not sure what he means, and I'm it's like maybe he means this word because there's an obvious typo that it could be, but it could be some weird Old English or fantasy term. And I started Googling these things, and I have since stopped. Because pretty much the first 2 things that I thought might be typos that I Googled have utterly revolting Urban Dictionary entries.
Oh no! What were they?
He had barely managed to escape through the back entrance of the inn he had been guzzling in as a squad of soldiers trounced upon him.
Oh yes. Trounced. I of course put the R in there mentally, but is that not?
Yes.
So.
I mean, it is something you would not guess it in a million years what this means, and it's so absurd that clearly it's one of those things that someone just made up. But it's been on Urban Dictionary for like 10 years, and it's the first reaction. I'm not even going to go into describing it because it's we joke about the inflatable cows because those are the kind of deviant behavior we can all get behind. But this one was just it's not appropriate for a family podcast.
I appreciate you withholding that.
But this is insane.
Our audience does too.
So don't Google tounced, is what I'm saying. TOUNCED. But when I went to that page, I'll post a picture of it. But there's I guess these standard Urban Dictionary ads that you can buy merchandise with these definitions are. So it says, "Get a tounce mug for your father-in-law, Gunter."
What?
Yeah.
What is happening?
It was Gunter with an umlaut, but like it was like, do I have cookies on here? Are they, is there some sort of tracking going on with this? But I think it was just an incredible coincidence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, how deep does this go? Man.
So I had one more. thing that turned up like that. In chapter 2, when he goes into the inn or the brothel or the hostel or whatever he is, the air was heavy with choking fumes, and I was like, I think he means choking, but I'm gonna check. And again, I immediately regretted that. So not as bad as Towns, but it was a bad one.
Oh no. Well, I mean, chalking, I guess you chalk a wheel. So while you're chalking a wheel, you are chalking. But I assume that's not what you're referring to.
No. Yeah, I didn't. It was not a auto maintenance term.
Okay.
But
my question was about this. This is probably, I'm going to be yelled at for this, but he talks about a steel shod blade.
Okay.
Shod. Shoes. That's his blade has shoes on it, and I couldn't not picture that. It was like steel shod. Oh, so he's these weird little steel shoes sticking out where the little scabbard thing is.
Yeah, the sword could sort of walk alongside him like a helpful dog or something.
Yeah. And then he uses this a couple times. Cleft upward. We know what a cleft is, right? But I don't think I don't think it's a verb.
He uses that to like cut something. He means.
I guess. I think that's one where he just failed. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just a fantasy term. Maybe they use it incorrectly and everyone just accepts that, but that one stuck in my mind.
Well, do you have anything more about the fight or anything like that? I mean, he disembowels these guys, but we don't really know who they are, and we don't care.
No, I don't really. I mean, I was just trying to puzzle out what was happening, and then luckily we get that. We get the little prequel thing. We get the explanation.
Yeah. Yes, that was. I was delighted by that. It sort of took me 2 times to read it to understand how clumsy it was, but it was great once it finally clicked.
Well, I found it delightful too, and I pictured, and you've agreed to do this. I'd like you to read it in total. It's only 2 short paragraphs of what got him in this predicament, where he was heading to Gorzum. And, we're in the middle of action and suddenly it stops. And, I bet you're wondering why this happened. And
yes.
So I'll pretend to be the guy who's asking you why. Oh, hey, Grignr. Hey, you're headed to Gorzum. What caused that, man? What's going on?
Yes. The trek to Gorzum was forced upon me when the soldiers of Kryn were leashed upon me by a faithless concubine I had wooed. My scandalous activities throughout the Cimmerian city had unleashed throngs of havoc and uproar amongst its refined patricians, leading them to tack a heavy reward over my head. I had barely managed to escape through the back entrance of the inn I had been guzzling in as a squad of soldiers pounced upon me. After spilling a spout of blood from the leader of the mercenaries as I dismembered one of the officers' arms, I retreated to my mount to make my way towards Gorzum, rumored to contain hordes of plunder and many young wenches for any man who has the backbone to wrest them away.
Oh, yeah, that checks out. Hey, have a great trip, man. And that's the end of chapter.
Yes. So yeah, it's a standard, like just checking in with him, like, how did you wind up here? Like elevator conversation, really.
Yeah, I just love it. He realizes suddenly that now the audience they are going to wonder why he's going to Gorzum. I better tell them. He kills these guys and he's heading towards Gorzum at that point. So they're like, he's heading towards Gorzum. Let's end with his flashback. And then the flashback also ends with him heading towards Gorzum, because he was heading towards Gorzum at the beginning of the chapter. It just omits the activity that already happened at the beginning of the chapter. So they both end at the same point, but with like a little, it's like there's a tesseract in between where these 2 points are joined, but he just omits the other thing. So it was very, very clumsy because it'd be like if I, was about to eat breakfast and then a bunch of robbers broke in. I had to fight them off. I burned the house down. And then I, went to Waffle House to eat breakfast. But then I flashed back to me waking up and getting ready to eat breakfast. They're not the same points in time, but yet with a clumsy author, they are depicted as such. Well, I don't think I realized until we started talking about that was supposed to be that point. I just assumed he was mid-journey, but no, he is looping it back. It's like
like Memento.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even get that.
So yeah, that's how chapter 1 ends, and they pick right up with probably it's really the heart of this section was chapter 2. It's where we really get into the we really learn what make Theis tick. I think, in this chapter.
Yeah, he wrote his way into this, and this is, now it's his magnum opus, is chapter 2. Although he does kick things up, and I a strong contender in chapter 4, but we'll get to that. Yeah, he goes, this is my favorite, the opening sentence is great. The red-haired giant strode into the dimly lit hostelry, reeking of foul odors and cheap wine. So it's the red-haired giant who is reeking of foul odors and cheap wine, which is probably true. I mean, given that he, had to be at that other inn, sure. He had to spill a gout of blood and chop off the arm of a guy.
He got trounced.
That would cause some foul odors. And he was, guzzling wine at that place. So maybe this is like, I'm picturing a very nice hostelry with flower patterns, recurring daisy patterns around on the wallpaper, and
the harpsichord player sort of does a comical record scratch as they all notice him. The people clinking their silver, crystal glasses briefly stops.
Yeah, so he goes into the hostelry.
Yeah, and the punctuation is an underrated facet of this because it causes a lot of confusion itself. The one that I noted very quickly was when he's sort of observing what's going on here, and it's not a fancy restaurant. He meant to say that this place smells bad because it says that tables were clustered. Tables were clustered with groups of drunken thieves, and cutthroats, tossing dice, or making love to willing prostitutes. And if you spend any time trying to picture what that would be like, there's all sorts of weird clauses, and the imagining what's happening is confused by the punctuation rather than clarified, which is the point of punctuation.
Excuse me, sir. I'm going to have to ask you to move it along.
I beg your pardon?
Our sign was very clear. This table reserved for drunken thieves, and cutthroats, tossing dice, or making love to willing prostitutes. You're violating, several of the clauses.
What are you talking about? I just rolled boxcars.
Yes, sir, and as a cutthroat, by rolling dice, you're infringing on the realm of the drunken thieves.
That's ridiculous.
It's what the sign says, sir.
Well, no, if the sign said drunken thieves, parentheses, and cutthroats, close parentheses, you would assume that us cutthroats were a separate entity who was not allowed to roll dice or make love to willing prostitutes. This is some Oxford comic garbage.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but that leather mug you're holding?
That's my mead.
Technically, the thieves are the only party allowed to be drunken. The commas separate that modifier from applying to cutthroats.
Oh, we're talking order of operations now? PEMDAS and shit?
Sir, this table is clustered enough as it is. Some unlucky drunken thief just rolled snake eyes on a willing prostitute's butt.
So you're telling me that because I'm a cutthroat, I can't grab this willing prostitute and make love to her?
That's right.
And it's because of the commas?
No, you can't make love to that willing prostitute because she's not a willing prostitute. She's a trim, yound wench.
Well, what the hell is a yound wench?
Well, what the hell is a cutthroat, sir?
Touché. Well, look. Yeah, I just stole that guy's loincloth. Now I'm a thief and I've been drinking. You have to let me stay.
Not unless you toss dice or make love to a willing prostitute.
Well, fine. Come on.
7. Everyone loses.
Hey, that guy cost us all our money. Let's tounce him! Oh, no!
I bet those cutthroats wish those drunken thieves had never Googled that term.
So, yeah, you can see how in practice that would make it very confusing for the people who are trying to participate in those activities, whether they're drunken thieves or a cutthroat.
Well, it helps to know how to picture it. So that's hopefully we can apply this to other things as we move forward with Theis.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you said the audiobook existed, I didn't realize that it had it sort of took liberties with the text.
Yeah, there are problems to solve, and we'll see if that happens in a little bit. Here's a phrase that made me laugh. Willing prostitutes.
Yes.
The unwilling prostitutes go out of business pretty quickly. It's hard to sustain that business model.
Yeah, so, they're just getting sat down. Your heart's not in it, Sheila. But yeah, I liked, so he's describing, he goes into a lot of depth describing these prostitutes and the encounters with them, and it's delightful because 16-year-old Jim Theis, as we said before, I don't know that he was leaving school and then hopping in his Camaro with the head cheerleader, so to speak. He has a lot. It smacks a lot of a guy talking about his girlfriend at summer camp to his buddies, or talking about his older brother who told him about all these sex things that he's just passing along as an authority. Yeah,
let's just say he's a blind man trying to describe an elephant here. It does not work out well.
So, for instance, he's eyeing one of many slender females, which I guess is a compliment, but it's not like the best compliment you could give someone. Slender just is an interesting choice. But he says he's eyeing a slender female crouched alone at a nearby bench, which crouching is, I think, as we all know, the most seductive of all poses.
She's crouching over her cheap wine, literally.
Yeah, she looks like Gollum or something on a bench, like just huddled there.
Well, he ups the game a little because he describes her so far. You got a picture of her crouching at a table?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
And then here's her stringy orchid twines of hair swaying gracefully over the lithe, opaque nose as she raised a half-drained mug to her pale red lips.
Yeah, so I have a picture.
Yeah?
Janice the Muppet. That's what I'm picking up.
That's pretty good. The stringy hair.
Yeah.
Pale
red lips.
Lithe nose. I guess noses. I've never heard a nose described as lithe, but it's
opaque.
It's opaque, which is, I guess, good to know. But that doesn't really need stating, does it?
No, I think it goes without saying. It's not something that you have to specify on your OkCupid profile, whether your skin is translucent or not.
However, we have never been to, what's the empire called?
Oh, my God. Norgolian
Empire.
Or, which Gorzum is a subset.
So perhaps, in Gorzum.
It is, because immediately after describing that revolting puppet, he says that she has an alluring complexion.
Yes.
So the barbarian's into it.
And she has pale red lips. So they're, pale red. Okay, you can barely discern the redness.
Sure.
But she has a pair of deep blue ovals.
Yeah, I like this.
Ovals gets a workout in this book.
Yes. And it was funny because it's not just, some weird, it's not Game of Thrones where he's always referring to like a resplendent jerkin. But like ovals gets double duty as heads, eyes. Like it's different things are assigned this, even though none of them are things that you would ever call that in real life.
I think there's an oval on the god later on the horrible god that I can't even make out what that oval is supposed to be.
Yeah, his stomach or something probably. But yeah, so that's delightful. But so the barbarian walks over to this alluring Muppet, and he seated himself upon a stool at the wench's side, exposing his body, naked save for a loincloth, brandishing a long steel broadsword, blah, 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 blah. And so I think this is the first time, halfway into chapter 2, that we've been revealed that the hero has been naked the entire time,
yes.
Which is a bold power move of, I think that in Beloved, Toni Morrison revealed like halfway through the book that the main character had been naked the whole time. And that was controversial when she did that. That was, I think F. Scott Fitzgerald was known to drop those into his books as well.
Well, but he's naked. This is a picture I couldn't make. The loincloth, naked save for a loincloth. And then if the comma is missing,
yes.
and he's brandishing a long steel sword, that brandishing is a verb that means, like a threatening with. So he's threatening her with a long steel sword, or is the loincloth threatening?
Yeah, that's the loincloth is brandishing a sword covered in shoes.
Yes.
So there's some fan art. Please, someone.
But
also, we
can
we can hope that the hostel owner would come by and burn that stool as soon as he lifts his naked ass off of the stool. It does get better because I assume you pulled this quote as well. The woman's immediate response. I'm going to read it as written.
Yeah, please do.
Thou hast need to occupy your time, barbarian, questioned the female.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Once again, punctuation.
She gets an I'm Ron Burgundy thrown in there just because the question mark is put outside of the quotations at the end of the declarative part of that sentence.
All right, so he's naked save for his loincloth. His loincloth is brandishing a sword, and then this happens. He answers, only if something worth offering is within my reach, stated Grignr, as his hands, picture this, crept to embrace the tempting female.
Yes.
So, who welcomed them with open willingness.
Open willingness.
So he's doing like this little creeper thing with his hands. He's naked. The sword is coming towards her.
He's doing the, like, when you're in the back seat with your brother and you're like, this is my side, and you like walk your fingers over to like cross the.
And she welcomes that with open willingness.
Well, yeah, because she's a complying wench. And speaking of terms that get a workout, wench is going to be, yeah,
along with slut, it's going to be hard to follow.
Oh yes, slut is fantastic. We'll get to that though. But yeah, the complying wench gasps with open willingness as he smothers her lips with the blazing touch of his flaming mouth. So this is really where it's the kid at summer camp being like, no, I've touched boobs before. Like they're they feel like whatever, a water balloon filled with sand. Like,
oh, I think this next paragraph proves that he's got some experience with the ladies. Here, I have to read it in total. There's no other way to convey this, I don't think. It's very short. The engrossed Titan ignored the queries of the inquisitive female, pulling her towards him and crushing her sagging nipples to his yearning chest.
So it's like a dog in a puppy mill or something.
I think the engrossed Titan. I wondered if he was trying to maybe go a little naughtier and go for like engorged.
Gorged?
I don't know. Engrossed. Like I'm really. I mean, it's just
engrossed is like you're watching a TED talk and you're sort of like, whoa, that 25 minutes flew by quickly.
I'm taking a lot of notes on this thing. I'm going to look more into this. And then without struggle, she gave in. She had already had that open willingness, but now she gave in, winding her soft arms around the harshly bronzed hide.
Yep. Yes.
It's one word, a bronzed hide of Grignr. I assume
Grignr's, yeah.
Corded shoulder blades as his calloused hands caressed her firm, protruding busts. She has two busts. My God, yes. She's hideous.
But they've firmed up very quickly in the.
The nipples are still sagging, I assume. This is a monster.
It is. That is the worst thing that has probably ever been written.
Oh my God! I don't know if you can hear the police siren, but
I can. They're coming to shut us down.
It must have heard that prose.
My God. So yeah. When you're next time you see Janice the Muppet, imagine her with firm, protruding breasts with sagging nipples, and I'm sure we can actually find a picture of that.
And I mean, just to be clear, 2 busts is 4 breasts, right? So, so yeah.
Hey, it's a fantasy world. Maybe it would be ignorant to not make that assumption. But then I believe, like in the text, I just have notes, but I'm pretty sure that then smash cuts to him saying, "You make love well, wench," admitted Grignr. So it's like, I think they sort of, it's like a comic cut to him smoking a cigarette in bed type of thing.
You're imagining that you just didn't hit the double return and we're in a new.
Yes, I am thinking that this guy did not know how it works, or maybe he just doesn't know what make love means. But I also like that he admitted it, like where some guy was like, betting him in the bar that like, David from David and Hazel was in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and he's like, no, and then they look at him, he's like, all right, you got me, I admitted. Like,
maybe she challenged him, from her soft, pale red lips. You think I can't make love good, huh?
Right. I'll check out all 4 of these.
All right, you make love well, wench. But no, it can't be that smash cut you imagine. You're giving him too much credit, because immediately a flying foot caught the mug Grignr had taken hold of. I mean, I guess it's possible he's in bed or something. But
well, yeah, I mean, they were on his stool. I guess I assumed they sort of did it out in the open because people are, finding willing prostitutes on the on the dice rolling tables and stuff. Like,
oh, that's true. So they could have just did it right there. And...
I think it's out in the open. I think it's that kind of party.
Okay. All right.
But speaking of that kind of party, yeah, the guy, drunken soldier kicks the mug out of his hand and just says that the wench belongs to me. And I just thought, like, no matter how drunk you are, like, why doesn't everyone just take 5 here? Like, go take care of whatever you need to do. Like, there's not any need to follow up the barbarian that quickly in this scenario.
Yeah. And we're only, I mean, a couple of paragraphs past the point where he's already killed someone and then had a description of how he had spilled the blood of another.
Yeah.
And that's what happens again. The thews of the savage's lashing right arm bulging from the glistening bronzed hide is 2 words now, so maybe that isn't a fantasy term. His blade bit deeply into the soldier's neck, loping off the confused head of his senseless tormentor. And so here comes Oval. With a nauseating thud, the severed Oval toppled to the floor. As the segregated torso of Grignar's bovine antagonist swayed, then collapsed in a pool of swirled crimson. What is happening in this? Please tell me.
A lot to unpack. I had that flagged as a potential dumb sentence of the week. And I just want to say, first of all, bovine, you say?
He's a cow with a segregated torso. What happened there?
At least he's not a cow with a rotundly inflated torso, is all I have to say. But yeah.
You think he was wearing a hell of a rig?
It's possible he was. He had gotten trapped in his suit and come out there to recruit the prostitute to deflate him. But yeah, segregated torso. I've never seen that term used to describe like amputated or decapitated type of thing. So that was.
But he didn't.
Delightful.
He cut off his head. Right? I mean, the oval topple. I guess the oval topples along with your trunk. But he says it bit into the soldier's neck. So what happened to his torso?
So his torso, I guess your torso starts at your neck, though, right? And ends at your waist?
I don't picture.
But it's not his torso, I guess, because it is still connected to his legs. It's his whole body.
Yeah, I couldn't picture that. Maybe.
Yeah, and then swirled crimson was a nice one too, just in terms of like, what is it swirling with? Are you making like sand art on the floor there? Like, does it look like the covers of Metallica's Load album where it's like mixed with oil and? Good Lord.
Well, then we get into another, and this is the delightful part of this whole experience is the insults that they throw back and forth, or the challenges and insults, and this is a classic. So the guy's partner, the captain, whatever, Grignr roars in triumph. The slut should have picked his quarry more carefully, which is confusing because he was with a slut. But he's obviously referring to...
Yes, I do not think that Jim Theis knows what a slut is.
Yes. So the slut is the guy on the ground with a segregated torso.
Right, and the prostitute is like, they're like, you weren't talking to me. But yeah, it couldn't be clearer. His quarry, it's what he's talking to.
And he roared that in a mocking baritone growl. And then the captain shows up and says... The fool should have shown more prudence. However, you shall rue your actions while rotting in the pits, stated one of the sprawled soldier's comrades. He stated that. And this was the one that we've had this twice, where someone states something. And so it's a peculiar way to do it. When people are bellowing, he's doing the war cry of his homeland and all of this stuff.
Bronzed hides being flashed all over the place.
Thews being swords riveting towards people, and yet this guy calmly walks up and states this. And so I wanted to see how they handled this in the audio book. Yeah.
Okay.
So I leaked a scene, and let's just run it. It's self-explanatory.
Grignr, the accordion barbarian, has just killed a soldier of Gorzon. Aha! He should have picked his quarry more carefully. When he's confronted by the slain man's captain.
The fool should have shown more prudence. However, you shall rue your actions while rotting in the pits.
You don't seem very invested in that. Am I reading it wrong?
Well, no, I am. I totally am. I'm angry that his segregated torso swayed and then collapsed in a pool of swirling crimson.
Well, you don't seem angry. Seems like you're just stating it. like you would the current temperature. Nothing about the Stygian haunts of hell?
Well, if you'd listened instead of just flexing your thew beneath your bronzed hide, I gave you some pretty darn rough language. 'Cause you will rue your actions while rotting in the pits. I think that's pretty strong medicine, don't you, young man?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just that I don't believe you. It's just so bloodless.
So every threat has to be barked out like that hack Jerry? Yeah, I'm glad that guy got a foot of steel ripping through his exposed gullet. Everything he said, I mean everything, he growled out like, well, I'll just say it, a common savage. Oh, damn you, barbarian. I shall see your bowels upon the dust, man pig. Or even while we were just hanging out, he's like, you taste that virile brew? Pretty great, right? See, it just sounds dumb. I prefer to calmly state that my victims will suffer the torments of a fiery hell. Is that so bad?
No, I'm sorry. What's your name?
My name is Barsheen. Barsheen Giliama.
Barsheen. May I call you Bar?
You may.
Bar, let's start over and let's just state things. You're right. There's no reason to fly off the handle here.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Thank you. Well, as I was saying, the fool should have shown more prudence. However, you shall rue your actions while rotting in the pits.
And I shall lick the blood from your freshly cloven spine, cur.
See? Yeah, this is good. Before I'd let that happen, I'll see your carcass burning in the cauldron hot midday sun as the carrion birds pick out your emerald orbs.
And I'll be wearing the bloody strings of your filthy guts as garters for my boots before lest you ever speak another word. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
So, I mean, artfully done, I think.
It's it's the way people talk in this world, I guess. And so Theis is just a muse. He's sort of conveying the way that people state things in moments of what you would assume would be extreme emotion in this world. They're stoic.
I congratulate them though for kind of working around the prose being sort of clumsy there. So well done.
Right. Yeah. Wow. It's that book is a good find.
Yeah. I'll be playing more of it.
Yes. Okay. I just wanted to while we were on the topic, he does. It's not just a one-time thing because later on he calls the king or the sultan also calls Grignr a slut. He says, enough of this, away with this slut before I lose my control. So that's where I sort of realized, oh, this wasn't just a one-time thing. He's really not clear about what this is supposed to mean.
Well, again, it could be in that kingdom, in Gorzom, and the area surrounding Gorzom, slut. I mean, it is an insult, I guess.
It's an insult, yeah. But
maybe it's kind of, it sounds like sort of a teenage girls doing that to one another or something, like, shut up, slut,
Yeah, right. Yeah, you sort of picture Theis like sitting in the back row, like in his weird little trench coat and just sort of like hearing what other people are saying to each other and just taking notes, like sort of like an alien observer, like being like, the human girl called her attractive friend a slut, but then they were giggling moments later. I will take note of this and,
That's going to end up in my prose, I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
So then he gets captured. I'm sort of brushing over that. There's a couple of decent paragraphs, but there's so much better stuff to get to because we're gonna, unless you have something there, but we're gonna meet. We're gonna meet a new character. That is delightful.
I did think there was a funny thing where they capture him and then they start walking him back to the kingdom or the castle or whatever. But there was a very Kleinian thing I thought where they're charting him along and they say, after an indiscriminate period of marching through slinking alleyways and dim moonlighted streets.
Indiscriminate to whom?
Exactly, to you, the reader, because I'm a terrible writer, I suppose. But they immediately after that, upon reaching the palace, the group was granted entrance, and after several minutes of explanation, led through several winding corridors to a richly draped chamber. So time is just passing in indiscriminate periods. We're getting several minutes of explanation that are glossed over and not indicated in any way. And it just sort of reminded me of the guy like walking Wade Watts down the corridor of the IOI headquarters.
Oh, yes. For several minutes.
Yes.
Please note also, just a side note, the seraglio, which is, the sort of the gilded Muslim enclosures. I think they keep harems in them and whatnot. So he throws that word out, which I admit I did not know, but then just put a little bookmark on that, and that'll come up in just a moment as we meet our new character.
Okay.
This guy is pretty great physically. At each corner of the chamber, at each corner, which I also just had to check because it's a W. A guard stood at attention with upraised pikes supported in their hands, golden chainmail adorning their torsos, and barred helmets emitting scarlet plumes enshrouding their heads. You got that? Golden adorning their torsos and barred helmets emitting scarlet plumes enshrouding their heads.
So it's like a big wig is bursting out of the thing and then
I guess they're continually emitting scarlet plumes. So they must pile up on the floor and have to be taken away at a later time.
Plume fountain. Wow. Yeah, constant emitting. There's no other way to interpret that.
Yes. And then we have Murfrick. It's just an insult. By the surly beard of Murfrick.
Murfrick, yeah. Grignr kneels to no man. I liked that. I thought that was a good. It was a very good, quote. It was very also similar to sort of a Ron Burgundy type of thing. But,
exactly. And
it's hey, I'm sure there's a 100,000 word backstory of Murfrick that if the man had we all not made fun of him back in the 70s, maybe he would have put pen to paper and gotten that down.
And then my favorite thing, and I'm going to state this, I think it could be a new department. Maybe I can come up with a theme for it. I know that we have a lot of talented listeners out there who are good in the visual arts. I'm almost certain of that. And so this is my animation challenge.
Wow.
Let's throw that out there. Animation or, a drawing of some sort. But I think an animation challenge would be good. Put this down in visual form. The paunchy noble's sagging round face flushed suddenly pale, then hastily lit up to a lustrous cherry red radiance. His lips trembled with malicious rage while emitting a muffled sibilant gibberish. His sagging flabs rolled like a tub of upset jelly, then compressed as he sucked in his gut in an attempt to conceal his softness. So
going on.
If you can nail a face flushing pale, then pastily lighting up to a lustrous cherry red radiance, you are a better artist than I, and you almost certainly are.
Oh man, yeah, that's a good one. And this is like before, Jabba the Hutt existed. So that's sort of what I took away from that. This revolting guy, but it's the guy's got an imagination. I guess we can say that. We had another good line after the surly beard of Mifric. I'm going to read it again as it's written. I shall never understand the ways of your twisted civilization. I simply defend my honor and am condemned to life confinement by a pig who sits on his royal ass wooing whores and knows nothing of the affairs of the land he imagines to rule. Lectures, Grignr? That's not even supposed to end in a question mark. He threw one in at the end of that one.
Oh, those are good. I don't even think I picked up on his misplaced question marks there.
We'll have to see if there's any more of them coming up. But yeah, so the revolting, flabby, the gut sucking in soft boy describes that he's going to cast him into the vault of misery. Which is very subtle, but then his advisor, Agafind.
I couldn't get my head around that. Yeah, his advisor has a different plan.
I don't think they named the king, but they named Agafind, who gets killed 3 paragraphs later. But he says, Eminence, the punishment you have decreed will cause much misery to this scum. And you imagine the guy being like, well, yeah. I mean, that's the vault of misery. That's
we're kind of good at that. Yeah,
that's why we had it installed. But he convinces him to sort of put him in a slave labor camp, because he knows that the one thing that will really make Grignr miserable, other than being in the Vault of Misery, is to confine him unable to wander and seduce wenches and adventure all over the planet.
He's doing an early version of the death penalty argument, where it's like, no, I think it'd be worse for him to stay alive and rot in prison.
Right.
I'm sure. Why don't you ask them? If you think it's worse, ask them and give them the worst punishment.
Right. Yes. But so he. There is another one. I'm sorry, it's at the wrong point. But he turns the noble turns towards the prisoner with a noticeable shimmer reflecting in his frog-like eyes and his lips contorting to a greasy grin.
Yeah,
so that's another
I threw
one
that onto my animation challenge for you.
Oh, nice.
If you
that's
can
a
do
good
that.
one. Yeah, please. The frog-like and the greasy grin should be really just reflecting the grease dripping off of his lips. I think would be a very nice one.
Well, just a couple questions, just some sweep up here on this chapter. I honestly don't know what this means. I can't even figure out what he says. Crushing prudence to the sward.
So the same sward as earlier?
Well, I don't know. I just don't know what it means. So if anyone has any idea what he was getting to with crushing prudence to the sward. And then finally, the final sentence of the chapter, which maybe you were leading towards.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, give it to me.
Well, I mean, why don't you give it your read? I think that I've done the question mark one, so I'd like to hear your interpretation of it as written.
All right, so he's taking him off for his lifetime imprisonment in whatever, instead of taking him to the Chamber of Horrors, or whatever they called it. And then the frog guy with the greasy grin and the jelly and the sucking it in and turning red but also pale at the same time says, "Before me, sirrah! Before me as always, ha, 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 ha!" Nobly cackled. What does that mean?
I mean, we said he didn't name the guy, so maybe his name is Nobly. That's the only way it makes sense.
I guess, except it is one word again, and maybe that's a fantasy term, nobly cackled. I don't know.
But the three ha's, a comma after the first one, then two without a comma, then a comma, and then a ha with four A's, ellipses.
And they're all capitalized.
Yes.
So he's hitting it's like, ha, 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 nobly cackled.
Yes. So that was, that was a wonderful way to end that chapter. A good character. And there's a great picture of him on the E thing. I think
he's smoking a blunt.
5 chins, yeah, and he's got like the way that a high schooler would draw himself smoking a blunt, like in his thing, which is never addressed. Like I saw the picture and I went back to see, and they do not have him smoking any sort of dubage in the text. And
he did what, when I draw a figure and you draw the face is nice and grotesque and everything, and then he gave up on the arms. The arms just trail off. There's no hands on them or anything.
Yeah, they're like just out of frame there.
Yep.
It's a treat that we have these illustrations, another window into the madness.
So chapter 2 is a big one. And now we enter a little bit of a contemplative period with chapter 3. Do we want to break and do fanfic now? Let's back, isn't it? With fan fiction.
Yeah. That guy who does that fan fiction song is named Logic, and he just released an album that he acted like it was a big deal to get every member of the Wu-Tang Clan on a track again, which, it's not like they're not obscure people who have faded away and are working, bars in Vegas or off the strip type of thing. But anyway, I listened to that last week. So it makes me, knowing the only thing I know about him being that song, it's always interesting to be like, oh, he's a extremely popular artist who's
I did not know that.
Making relevant, Grammy nominated music. Yep. So there you go. Well done, Logic.
Yeah. Good for him.
So we have fanfic. We've got a lot of options now, and a lot of them were made possible by our Patreon subscribers. We introduced that Patreon a couple episodes ago, and we've been blown away by the amount of support we've gotten already. It's really, really impressive and really, really generous of people. Hopefully will allow us to do some really fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. Thanks to everyone.
Yeah, and they people who got this early were able to send in some fanfic for us. I also found one fanfic that here a few of the people that supported the Patreon. Let's read some names. the Lane family. Thank you, Lane family. Lucas Newmeyer, Carrie Ann Vardal, and someone who goes by the name of Scorpion Moon. Just
hey, Scorpion Moon.
There you go. Yeah, so the other people have written in the fan fictions. We'll identify those. Thank you for doing them at all. And we will let you try to guess, Mike, which ones are real and which ones are fan fiction. So let me just call them up.
What if today I just nail it? What if I just become supernaturally good at this? I don't anticipate it, but it could happen.
But it's very possible. Let's see if you can do this. I'm just going to go in order.
Okay.
Here we go. Let me tell you how many we have. I think we have a lot.
Oh, rest assured, I have not read ahead in this book. Because I'm actually looking forward to what happened next after chapter 4, which has a very thrilling conclusion.
All right, so here's the first one. As the crimson gore escaping from his gaping wound had stained the ground about Gringr's leather sandaled feet, Chagrin feebly gurgled his last with these cryptic words. Trust not in thy brawn, but rather in thy brain to vanquish the mighty beast. His voice trailing off as the gleam of sentience flickered briefly and then departed forever from the exiled shaman's deep brown eyes.
Well, all right. I'm tentatively mark that as fanfic, but I'll reserve judgment.
All right. Like the passion of virile men trapped in the snow, where the frigid fingers of desperation like a siren draw them to the feverish core of another man's undulating limbs, holding them close, a sanctuary from despair. The caress of their quivering man slabs sliding together, their breathing like a gasping forge, corralling the critical warmth that only flesh can produce. Grignr had never been jealous of those tales, considering them to be mere comedies, a lesson to why the Northern Commonwealth is to be circumvented and ridiculed. But now, possessing the man hard against his own fibrous torso, he sensed that he should have been demanded more knowledge and acquiesced to view the etchings back in the songsmith's lodgings.
Wow, the Northern Commonwealth? That's a
world building, baby.
I'm going to mark that as fanfic, but I withhold judgment. Carry on.
Riding high over the shoulder of the gnarled mountaintop came Flanir, the haggard but noble horse of Grignr. With his new scimitar held high, the barbarian slew the army of 30 waiting guards with speed not to be seen in this world or the next. But bloody body on hideous body, this band fell with viscera and organs curdling into foetid piles of glistening rot.
All right. I think that's number 3, right?
Yes.
Okay. Carry on.
Okay, we got 3 more. Crouched over the girl was a tall, pot-bellied priest, his face dominated by a disgusting, open-mouthed grimace of sadistic glee. Suspended from the acolyte's clenched right hand was a carven, oval-faced mallet, which he waved menacingly over the girl's shadowed face, an incoherent gibberish flowing from his grinning, thick-lipped mouth. In the face of the amorphous, broad-breeded female, stretched out alluringly before his gaping eyes, the universal whim of nature filing a plea of despair inside of his hot white soul, Grignr acted in the only manner he could perceive. Giving vent to a hoarse, throat-rending battle cry, Grignr plunged into the midst of the startled shaman, torch simmering in his left hand and axe twirling in his right hand.
Okay. All right. Boy, it is getting harder as they start to build.
Yes. Mriffic! I thought I had killed the last of those dogs, muttered Grignr in a half-apathetic state. Nay, Grignr, you doubtless grew careless while giving vent to your lusts. But let us not tarry any long, lest we overtax the fates. The paths leading to freedom will soon be barred. The wretch's cries must certainly have attracted unwanted attention, the wench mused.
Oh, they're musing now. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And then finally,
Bring it home.
Grignr knew the time to act was now while he still had the opportunity in his grips. He crouched on his hunches and launched his mighty countenance upon his foe, curling his lustful steel through the wretched shaman's heaving chest.
Oh, man, I was so certain, and now I'm completely uncertain. So they could all be fanfic?
They could all be, sure, they could all be. There's at least one real one in there.
I think that number 3 and number 6 are real. There, I'm just going to get it out there.
Oh, man. Completely wrong.
Oh, no.
The real ones are 4 and 5. The tall, pot-bellied priest and the broad-breeded female. The carven, oval-faced mallet. That would have been impressive if someone had picked up on that so quickly. And then the thick-lipped mouth. That was all real. And then the next real one was the one that starts with Mrific, who I guess does have a role in this by Mrific's surly beard. And then the wench musing. Those are both real.
Oh, fantastic. Wow.
The other ones, the first one was by Tom H. The third one was by Mark B. The last one was Nick D. And the second one, the man slabs in the Northern Commonwealths.
Yes.
That was one that already existed. And that Mike is called Always Be Clear, and it is Grignr, Ebenezer Scrooge / Fic.
What?
It is a mashup of Christmas Carol and Eye of Argon, written by Violet Flowers. And I didn't go too far, but I assume that the quivering man slab can only belong to the miser himself.
But it's clearly a joke, though.
Well, yeah, but like it was, it was pretty much in the style.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, clearly a joke. You are making a big, big
that's what
assumption
I told. I'm hoping it was a joke. Anyway, that was real or fanfic. I just like to play this theme because now that I know that logic. Wow. Well done, everyone. Once again.
So thanks to everyone on Patreon, and check that out if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to get the episodes a little early or just support us in any way, you can go to patreon.com/372pages. Thank you again.
So that time, not even coin flip. Couldn't even just pick one out of a hat. Couldn't get anything. There was a typo in one of them that threw me off.
That was nice. That was a nice touch.
Yeah. All right.
But so we're going on to chapter 3.
Chapter 3.
Yeah. And this starts with him waking up in his cell, I guess. He is in the Vault of Misery now.
Yeah, he's in the Vault of Misery, and the chapter 3. I think this is the opening. Yeah, this is the opening sentence of chapter 3, which I could not puzzle out. Consciousness returned to Grignr in stigmatic pools, as his mind gradually cleared of the cobwebs cluttering its inner recesses. I kind of get what he's getting there, but. Yet the Stygian cloud of charcoal ebony remained, an incompatible shield of blackness enhanced by the bleak absence of sound. What's happening here?
Well, I could write that sentence for you. Grignr woke up.
Yeah.
What's
a stigmatic pool?
I mean, the fact that he uses what I assume is the same like root word twice within the span of like 10 words, and that word is Stygian or stigmatic. Doesn't it mean just like dark, like black?
No, stigmatic is the stigmata. So is that just a typo mixed with a misuse of a word? Stigmatic would mean he is exhibiting signs of the stigmata, the holes of the nails.
Yeah.
I don't. So I assume he just meant. Yeah, he. I know what he did. Yep, you're right. He just took Stygian. He took Styg, and then he made up his own word with matic. Yes. And then he didn't know that it existed already.
You'll be happy to know that if you Google stigmatic as is written there, the very first result is someone's entry on the World of Warcraft leaderboards. Okay. So that's play into character to type right there. That's fun. But yeah, that was a great way to describe him, sort of like regaining consciousness in the Vault of Misery.
And then he is awake, he thinks, but he dickered with the notion that he was dead. Have you ever dickered with any notion?
Yeah, dickering is sort of like going into the county store and like trying to bargain like how much your corn feed, your chicken feed is going to be.
Right. Look, I'm buying 6 bags from you, Ev. I was hoping you'd, knock off a little, sharpen the pencil a bit, and give me a deal on it.
Amos, I'd cut you a deal, but the missus says that we can't be cutting no deals with farmers who don't pay back the dickering.
How about she brings you some eggs tomorrow? I know your wife would like some of that, huh?
Well, Judith would appreciate that, Amos. We'll see you for dinner at Sunday morning.
All right, thank you much. I guess I'm not dead now that we've dickered with that notion. Wow.
Yeah, but he dickers with the notion that he was dead and had descended or sunk. So that's, I guess, what he's dickering, whether he's descended or sunk, however it may be, to the shadowed land beyond the aperture of the grave, but rejected the hypothesis when his memory sifted back within his grips. One sentence.
Staggering.
Yeah. It is. It's like it would be a fun, the GIF everyone always uses when they're trying to describe some crazy theory is Charlie from It's Always Sunny with one of those yarn boards, like looking crazy, and that would be the effort of diagramming that sentence.
Yeah. But then a poignant description of the lack of sunshine is next.
Oh, yep. We pretty much pulled the exact things, same quote.
You go ahead with that. I don't have it written down right here.
The finite misery of an inactive life of confined torture, forever concealed from the life-bearing shafts of the beloved rising sun.
Are you talking about that orb that had been taken for granted, yet now cherished above all else?
Yeah, he really cherished those life-bearing shafts. Just sort of woke up every morning and didn't even really pay attention to them, bearing life everywhere.
But then his thoughts quickly turn. Right now, he's just agony over never seeing the sun again, that orb that he'd taken for granted. But also the snow-capped summits of the land of his birth, and never again to witness the thrill of plundering unexplored lands beyond the crest of a bleeding horizon. But then,
so the snow-capped mountains, that might be the Northern Commonwealth.
That's probably where he's talking about. But perhaps worst of all, as he realizes what his fate is, he'll never again encompass the lustful excitement of caressing the naked curves of the body of a trim, yound wench.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, oh, you're getting a little excited there, Theis. As he's typing that one, he's unable to hit the right words as he finishes the end of the sentence.
Well, he's imagining those saggy nipples.
Yes. I liked that the sort of manager of the hostel sort of called ahead the yound wench in that audiobook clip, even though they hadn't got it to that point in the book. He was still, that must be a term that they're using in the hostel.
Yeah, they're leaping around and they're pulling from other sources and things like that. So sure.
Oh boy. That's it was a short chapter. Still a lot in it. But it's short because we are quickly then thrust into chapter 3.5.
Yes.
Which is, let's give him credit for I think what is probably an unprecedented literary innovation.
I can't imagine there is anyone else who has done it. Yeah, unless this was a patch that he gave after the fact. Maybe they slipped this in. He's like, oh, wait, before you go to press at the Ozark Sci-Fi Association.
Yeah,
it's like, we've already numbered the chapters. All right, call it 3.5 and just stick it in there, would you?
He's like, giving the guy at the letterpress the instructions, the old guy. I think there might actually be an explanation for this if you read the whole build up to this, to why these are inserted into. I guess I probably should have looked into that, but I prefer to think it's just another window into the madness.
I think it's just it's the equivalent of putting an umlaut over your band name for no reason. It's just just a fun thing to do.
There's a Dark Tower. There's 7 books in that, and then Stephen King wrote one after the fact that people sort of refer to as 4.5. So that's maybe it's a tribute.
Well, this chapter, boy, it stands on its own. This one, when he gets into descriptions. Again, the footprints shining dully.
Yes.
On even though they're underneath the sand and there's swords near, but this gets into a realm I cannot picture what's going on here. Can you?
It is just it's more is so much less in this situation.
I just picture him sweating drops of blood as he's trying to write this. He's trying to describe, I assume, just an altar with gargoyles, a place where you sacrifice someone and the blood drips down into a pail and you drink
Temple
it, right?
of Doom, essentially, is what I'm getting at. That sort of thing.
But man, it's just the words just come at you, and you're just trying to take each one as a tightly rung ecliptical circle or torches cast their wavering shafts, prancing morbidly over the smooth surface of a rectangular ridged altar. Where's the Where's the ridges? The torches are in ellipses around the morbidly. I don't know. I can't. Anyway, right. I'm lost already. That's the first sentence.
The important thing is that in this realm, lights are always shafts. And that's very nice.
Yes. So it's just describing the altar, and there's priests standing around. Right?
Yeah, they're standing around, but they're underneath the grotesque gargoyles who are gracing the oblique rim, protuberating the length of the grim orifice of death.
Yes.
So I've started using. I read this probably 72 hours ago. I've started used the word protuberating at least 5 times, much to Lauren's dismay.
One of my favorite things was he occasionally he'll stop his, this purple prose just comes out in a torrent and you're just trying to wrestle with it all. But in the middle of it, he gets into just some tidy ergonomics. He says, dangling at the rim of the golden mallet, the handle of which was engraved with images of twisted faces and groved at its far end with slots, designed for a snug hand grip. So, in case you're wondering, is this going to be uncomfortable to hold? I mean, am I even going to be able to get a grip on it, or is it going to kind of rock around in my hand?
That's incredible.
It's got groved, twisted faces at its far end, but there are slots in the twisted faces for a snug hand grip.
You imagine some of the priests just like looking at the guy, being like, "Oh, you got the 2018 model of that thing? Like, oh yeah, I can't afford one now. The wife would kill me if I brought it home. But like, yeah, that got great reviews in Outside Magazine. That's
yeah, you don't see it shaking around in my hand, do you, boys?
Yeah, all right. Well, you don't have to rub it in, just because I've got blisters and everything from my
from the faces, the twisted faces, and on my groved end.
Yeah, he's the guy's, sawing off the head of the heathens to let the blood into the trough, and he just keeps looking over at the other guys to sort of like indicate how seamless it is as he's sawing.
You're a dick, Ron.
Yeah, and then these priests there's I guess a green an idol that they're sort of is overseeing this whole thing, which again reminded me of the Indiana Jones thing is what I had was hard to shake from my mind.
Yeah, they're encircling the marble altar, a congregation of leering shaman. Now, we should point out that he thinks he's using, I assume that he's using the plural of shaman. But that it's not woman or man, it's shaman.
So that's not real? That's not a thing?
No, that is not a thing.
Well, that's awesome.
And on their heads are shaved, they are wrinkled. So imagine this, and orange paint was smeared in generous globules. So there's like little,
it's like 3D.
I guess it's like half-dried globs of orange paint smeared over their wrinkled, shaven scalps, while golden rings projected from the lobes of their pink ears. So they're standing around leering, I assume holding the mugs with various degrees of success.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's being observed all by the idol I didn't take down the description just because it was so much. This whole thing is pretty much a description of these two people in the revolting terms. But in front of the idol, there's a slender, yet again, pale-faced female, naked for but a golden jeweled harness enshrouding her huge outcropping breasts. He suddenly went all, what is that guy, Frank Frazetta or whatever? Yeah, right. Yeah.
He's describing the grotesque scene, but she has huge cans too, though.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's nothing in there that should make you like aroused or excited at all. But then, yeah, it's got Rob Liefeld Marvel Comics in the 90s cans on her. But she's also supporting long silver laces, which extended to her thigh, stood below the pearl white field with noticeable shivers traveling up and down the length of her exquisitely molded body. But she's not a wench, though, so that takes me out of the whole thing. It's like we need some consistency here.
And she's certainly not a slut because they're all male.
Right,
so.
Yes.
Just jumping back one sentence, just so I don't lose it. Dramatic beneath the nostrils. This is describing the idol thing.
Wow.
Dramatic beneath the nostrils was a twisted, shaggy-lipped mouth, giving the impression of a slavering, sadistic grimace. A shaggy mouth. It was giving the impression of a slavering, sadistic grimace. It was not, but somehow. So I assume their art was just not done well enough where it was giving that impression, but it was supposed to be smiling or something. But,
well,
that was all happening dramatic beneath the nostrils.
I'm imagining a slavering, sadistic, the grimace who's got like Mayor McCheese tied up to a chair and he's like got a awl or something that he's going to be like pounding a hole into his hand as he slobbers at this at his captive.
You want to remake Saw with him, don't you? I can tell.
But that's the inside that statue is the Eye of Argon.
Mm-hmm. We get
That's
our
what we're all here for.
We get our first ellipses, I believe, of the.
No. The ha 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 ended with an ellipses.
Oh, it did. Okay, our second ellipses. Okay.
What was it?
No, well, this is the Eye of Argon is preceded by ellipses.
Ah, yes.
So
yeah, maybe your theory about him slipping this in after the fact. I hope that this, it would delight me to no end if this is the only mention of the Eye of Argon. Yes. And it was just something that he clearly slipped in when he realized that the as we've seen many times with the movies we do, where the name has absolutely nothing to do with the content of the movie.
Right. Well, we're on to, unless you have anything else, we're on to chapter 4. So that was
Let's do it.
That was kind of like, I assume he's doing the novel pacing that, like a Tom Clancy or something, where you go to the action scene and then you do the sort of hard smash short paragraph to inside a boardroom 2,000 miles away. Three men talked, that's sort of, he's setting that scene. But now we're back to action. And man, chapter 4, I don't know. You said chapter 2. I'm kind of a chapter 4 fan.
Wow. All right. Yeah, there's some really good stuff in chapter 4. The most laugh out loud moment I had is in chapter 4. But it starts with him. He's been imprisoned in the Vault of Misery, and so the Vault of Misery is doing a great job. I'm not sure why they really thought that. I guess the Vault of Misery has probably a maximum capacity where they can't just keep him in there forever.
Wait, is he in the Vault of Misery now?
I guess I just inferred that.
Oh, but he told him. I think they were going to kill him in the Vault of Misery, but now they're leaving him in the Vault of. Is that the option?
The guards. It ends with him freeing himself. I think as they were coming to take him to the work camp or something. I thought they were going to imprison him in hard labor.
Oh, okay, all right.
So I thought that he was he was just biding his time in the Vault of Misery, which seems to do a really good job because as it's described, sort of early on, he loses all conception of time. It seemed as if years had passed if time were being measured by terms of misery and mental anguish. He can't tell if he's been imprisoned for 10 minutes or 10 years. Mm-hmm. But then, so after all of that vivid description and how awful that must sound, the result is he feels a disheartened emotion. That's the 10 years of agony, and he feels a little disheartened, which is I thought this year when the Nats lost on opening day, I was a little disheartened. You sort of you build it up all off season and then they sort of come out and just shit the bed on opening day. And you're like, oh, well, I guess we'll get them tomorrow. But it's just a bit of a letdown. Yeah.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Right. But you understand why he felt only disheartened, because after all the time trying to figure out, he did not know. I mean, it was misery and mental anguish, like you say, that seemed to be beyond the grasp to even comprehend. Yet he estimated that his stay had only been a few days. So that's why suddenly oh, wait a minute. Why am I worrying about this? It's only been a couple days. So. Right.
Exactly. It's sort of like when you wake up from a bad dream and are panicked briefly before you realize, oh, wait, I'm not on
fine.
Trial. I
didn't kill anybody.
I haven't been in college in 20 years. So why am I worried about taking a test?
But then he delves into physiology. And I found this very funny. I don't know if this was one of your laugh out louds, right. But the need for nourishment and slumber are directly proportional to the functions the body has performed, meaning that when free and active, Grignr may become hungry every 6 hours and witness the desire for sleep every 15 hours. Whereas in his present condition, he may encounter the need for food every 10 hours and the want for rest every 20 hours.
Right.
Suddenly just had to stop and explain Grignr's his sleeping and eating habits. I found that hilarious.
It gives credence to the alien observer, sort of pretending that they're a person and observing the people and taking notes about their behaviors.
Yes. But then Golden Corral's new slogan.
Oh, man. Yeah, I thought, the exact same thought entered my head. It is fantastic.
Why don't you read it? It's so good.
Okay. The food... if you can honor the moldering lumps of fetid mush to that extent, was borne to him by 2 guards who opened a portal at the top of his enclosure and shoved it to him in wooden bowls. Retrieving the food and water bowels, just a delightful typo, from his previous meal at the same time. Since deprived of all other means of nourishment, Grignr was impelled to eat the tainted slop in order to ward off the pangs of starvation. So pains and pangs. I guess he wasn't sure which one, so he went for both. As he stuffed it into his mouth with his filthy fingers and struggled to force it down his throat, he imagined it was that which had been spurned by the hounds stationed at various segments of the palace.
Can we get Norm Macdonald to do a reading just of that paragraph?
I was reminded of Billy West doing his Kirk Douglas impression. Which,
I can't eat this slop.
And I was like, oh man, if there was I would love to read Jim Theis's Yelp reviews, just like we joked about Golden Corral. It would be a treat.
Yeah, it has the turns like when Norm got the news from his publisher that people weren't liking his book and would come up with terms like that. Oh, so they're liking the book then. They're calling it moldering lumps of fetid mush.
Moldering, I'm not familiar with what that means. It could be positive, it could cancel out the fetidness.
I can see where you'd think that, but no. People force it into their mouths with their filthy fingers.
If Grignr did have a guy who had been in there, like a lifer in the Vault of Misery, that like every single day was sort of making like working hard or hardly working cracks to him when they deliver the food, being like, well, at least the mush is fetid today. Sometimes it's rotten. And Grignr's like, yes, again, every single day. Like, I can see why they call it the Vault of Misery and not the Vault of Michelin stars, huh?
Oh man, it's so good. But then he starts to devise a scheme, or he tries to, and this leads to the most confusing sentence in the book for me, because I cannot figure out what he means in any way, and so I enlist the help of you and our listeners. Numerous schemes were introduced and alternately discarded in turn as they succored to unravel to him no means of escape which stood the slightest chance of success.
Succored to unravel to him. Wow.
I assume he doesn't know what the word succored mean. So
I don't know what it means.
It means just give comfort to. Succored. Okay. Succored to unravel to him no means of escape. If anyone can, I'm just looking for what did he mean? What do you think he was trying to do? It's nonsensical as is, but I couldn't even get to that. So,
right, because he's coming up with schemes, but then the schemes are failing to succor to unravel to him.
I don't know. How do you succor to unravel? I don't know.
It sounds yet again like folksy country speak.
Yeah, I don't know what he was getting at, but so the description of going in and out of trying to find schemes to escape is pretty funny. His anguish is mounting at one point, as his means of occupation were rapidly exhausted, and then suddenly, with no tithe, he was routed from his contemplations. Did you understand that one either?
With no tithe?
Tive. Is that? I didn't look that word up. I assume typo. Suddenly without no.
First result for Tithe is a company that provides real-time supply chain visibility.
Oh, you know what? I think I just figured it out. Suddenly, without notice.
Oh, wow.
There's a space between no and then the word tithe. Okay, there we go.
Well, I prefer that he's been denied his proper supply chain
yes.
SAP exposure.
And then the battle.
Oh man,
this is good.
Oh man. Oh yeah. So it starts off. He's been examining the contents of his cell, like he's sort of like doing an Andy Dufresne where he's testing every single square thing. He's memorized the steps back and forth, so he'll be ready to escape when he's presented with the opportunity. But then he hears something. He hears a sound, and this I thought was fantastic. The sound seemed to be caused by something trying to scrape away at the granite blocks the floor of the enclosure consisted of, the sandy scratching of something like an animal's claws. And that something like turns out to be an animal's claws. It's the world's worst metaphor.
Yes, he is attacked by a gargantuan brown-hided rat. How gargantuan are you picturing this beast?
I mean, it gets in some good licks, but like, I don't know, like a wiener dog. Like I mean, how does it emerge from the wall? I guess I didn't really pick up on that. It's sort of just like it bursts out of a cement block.
I guess. So that must mean that there is a way to get out. But I was picturing it much bigger because he later describes it as a hulk. But here's a great sentence. Grignr grappled with the lashing flexor muscles of the repugnant body of a gargantuan brown-hided rat, striving to hold its razor teeth from his juicy jugular, as its beady gray organs of sight gazed into the flaring emeralds of its prey. So,
beady gray organs of sight was my takeaway from that. There, I was hoping for an ovals, but that was a very nice follow-up. If we weren't going to get ovals. Somehow makes him sound revolting and like, I don't know, vaguely sexual.
Imagine, trying to describe, what's, I'm setting you up with this girl. What's she look like? Well, she's got, stringy hair. She's slender, pale lips. They're red, of course. And she has beady gray organs of sight.
Sounds like an alluring complexion to me.
Yes.
So it attacks him. It does, there's some action. It bites him. It pulls out flesh and stuff. But he's our hero, so he's going to emerge victorious. And this was my favorite part of the first 4 chapters. With a loud crack, the rodent's head parted from its squirming torso, sending out a sprinkling shower of crimson gore and trailing a slimy string of disjointed vertebrae, snapped trachea, esophagus, and jugular, disjointed hyoid bone, morose purpled stretched hide, and blood-seared muscles.
Yes.
Which you just have to throw up your hands and just like, you got it, man. Like, bravo. This is.
Did I leave anything out? Did I cover all of what could be happening between its severed head and its segregated torso?
Yes, that's a gag where he just sort of looks at you and you're like, and then he keeps reading the things that are coming out of it. It's like he's pulling out a magician's handkerchief where it just keeps coming out of his pocket.
Oh, yeah.
Very, the axe copier of a kid who just sort of like played Mortal Kombat and is writing his own Mortal Kombat story, like just listing over and over and no awareness of physics or anything like that.
I noted one thing during the battle as he's fighting with it. He cursed beneath his breath, which I thought was kind of him to, not disturb the other prisoners. He's usually letting out the hoarsely piercing battle cry of his wilderness-bred race. But in this, like, I don't want to wake anybody up here. I'm just...
Oh, man. But yeah, so he kills the rats, and then it hits him. The minutes may have passed in silent thought or days. Or 10 years, as he stated earlier. It's impossible to tell here in the Vault of Misery. But we get it. The time it's hard to tell how much time is passing.
Yeah, and he, but I just noted in my notes here, time for a fresh start. He says it's time to revamp his glum meditations. So he's gonna go at it from they're gonna be glum, but I think I've got a different angle on it. I'm pretty excited about this.
But is that when he comes up with a plan? I mean, we understand that the dead rat is going to play some sort of role in this plan.
That's when he comes up with the plan, and it's described like this. Yet he was still alive, his bulging sinews at their peak of marvel, his struggling mind floating in a myrill of impressed excellence of thought. Plot after plot sifted through his mind in energetic contemplations. So he really did revamp. Those are the best glum meditations I've ever heard.
Yeah, energetic contemplation is like, so he's like clapping his hands and sort of pacing around like Steve Ballmer or something.
Well, his sinews are bulging out. He needs to get that looked at. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's not like Steve Ballmer at all, but I'm sure he's glistening in the same manner.
Then he comes up with a plan, and we don't know this is the cliffhanger. And I'm honestly excited to see where this is going, because it's not a foolproof plan, and he's probably going to die. But either way, he would still cheat the gloating prince of the succored revenge his sadistic mind craved so dearly.
Is that the second use of succored?
It is.
Wow. All right. And there's no way that's a combination of 2 words or anything like that.
It must just be something that whoever he's reading uses the word succor, and he forgot to look it up.
All right. Wow. Well, I mean, it's a hell of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and what he's doing, and he's rending the sticky hulk of the rat, and then that's his plan, and we don't know what it is.
Yeah, so it's sort of like an adventure game where you're locked in there in King's Quest and have to, not that you'd be familiar with King's Quest, but you'd form rat spine into key, and then you'd like use rat spine on the hole, and it would work, that type of thing. I guess that's what he's sort of what's going to happen here, and we'll find out in the next section.
I have my guess. Can I guess?
Sure.
I think I'm assuming he makes weapons of the skeleton since he's rending the sticky hulk. So either like his spine, or he's going to take the claws off, and he's going to sort of just hack at he's going to fake that he's sick or something, and then hack at the guards, right?
Yeah, I mean that has to be it. I would not entirely surprise me if that's not what it is. But I do think that there should be a scene of someone rending the sticky Hulk in the next Marvel movie. If they get a little R-rated, that would be kind of nice.
Oh, good heavens! Don't sucre me like that. My heavens!
Oh, right. Well, I mean I think that's it. That was you start this off and you're like, oh, I hope we made a right decision. But this, I think, proved that this was a good idea, because this is fantastic. I mean, it's more fun to break it down than it is to sort of read it by yourself. But I hope everyone else is having a good time. Someone wrote in and said they were somewhat disappointed that it wasn't like a vetted book by a publisher. But I think this does the job. He compared it to Vogon literature, which I thought was a good description. Vogons are the people in Hitchhiker's Guide that write the worst poetry in the universe, but this guy called it Vogon prose. So I thought that was accurate. It's comically over the top. That was Jordan R. So I appreciate that comparison.
But I would say it was. I mean, it was vetted. But
yes, yeah. That's a slap in the face to the editors of the Ozark Science Fiction Association Journal.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's it was read and published. I mean,
right.
It's the lowest bar, sure, but it did happen.
Yeah, there was a alligator on the cover of the journal. I mean, what more do you want?
And if you haven't yet, do check out the drawings that accompany this. They're fantastic. What is the second drawing? Let me just scroll up to this.
Yeah. The evil sort of count. He looks like
the evil count.
The guy. He looks like the guy in Jack the Giant Killer almost. Pendergast, I think. No, not Pendergast. Was it Pendergast?
Jack the Giant Killer? There was a Pendergast?
No, but there was a guy in Jack the Giant Killer that looked a lot like that.
I don't know. Oh, I know who you're talking about now, yeah.
I mean, that's a very, very basic villainous look.
But I don't know who's it supposed to be in the...
Pendragon, that's what it was.
Pendragon.
In this book, I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah. Well, anyway, check out the drawings. They're fantastic.
But yeah, this is we'll have to look into where the drawings came from, because that says it's by like Jay Rikesh or Tony Rikesh. So maybe the Ozark Journal had people illustrating it, but it wasn't. It's like a localization of a Japanese video game in the 80s, where just like people had no idea what they were supposed to be doing. So they just wrote. Right. He probably had some illustrations. He's like, yeah, they'll be good enough. It's similar.
Yeah, I wonder what Jim Theis, when he got it back and it was published, and like, who'd you get to do my illustration? He doesn't look like that at all.
Rikesh, that hack. Yeah. It's like when you see journalists who people are like, this headline was misleading, and they're like, for the 1000th time, I do not write the headlines. Like, that's a completely different department.
Oh, well, that's it. I had a ton of fun on this. I was torn between going, gosh, I wish this went on longer, but also wrestling with this thick prose is not easy stuff, as you can tell. It's fun. Oh, yeah. It's fun, but at length, I wonder if you'd just go,
Right. Yeah, exactly. The fact that it was, because there's a lot to unpack, like you said, so it's good to take in these smaller doses. I wish it was a little bit longer, but I think it'll be a good amount of Theis.
Indeed. And
read through the end, I guess, for the next one.
Yeah.
It's a little bit longer. Yeah.
It's a little bit longer. Read it to the end, and we'll work on it then. And maybe we can also get some mail in for the next episode. Could people be sending in stuff?
Yeah, send in your thoughts. Send in your. I guess we probably don't have any. I mean, send in your fanfic. Maybe we'll read a few if they're good. We won't be able to guess, but yeah, get some letters to us. We'd love to share those. Do a little mailbag. It'd be fun.
And thanks again to our Patreon people.
Absolutely,
nice of you to join us, and we appreciate it.
And yeah, you enjoy it earlier than everyone else, so you can lord that over people, mock people if you want to taunt them.
Yeah, just like that guy with the mug with a good grip on it. You can mock the others. All right, I am Mike Nelson.
I'm Connor Listoka. Thank you.
This is 372 pages. We'll never get back.